Hey guys, welcome back to Ranger Survival and Fieldcraft. I'm Andrew, and what I have for you today are 10 military survival skills, tips, tricks, and hacks in the dark. Stand by. Alright guys, so for our first task, we're going to look inside the Ranger Handbook to get a clue on how we can use the moon to establish an east-west running line, thus finding our north-south running line to give us basic cardinal directions at nighttime if we are without a compass or any sort of navigational aids. What we're going to need to know is moon rise, and we can pull that from our weather data inside the operations order that we're briefed before we actually step out on mission, or we can use our handy-dandy phone app to figure this out as well. Here's the trick. If the moon rises before midnight, the illuminated side of the moon is going to point west. If the moon rises after midnight, the illuminated side of the moon is going to point east. Knowing this, we can figure out which direction the illuminated side of the moon is pointing to establish our east-west running line, and we can even lay down some sticks on the ground, forming an arrow, pointing the direction of travel we want to move when first light comes, if we're going to bed down and stay in the area until first light. Too easy. Here's a great tip on how to use a jet boil or any sort of camp stove that emits a flame, thus a light at nighttime, and still conceal that stove to remain undetected. The best way to use a stove like this is simple. Dig in the earth and make a cat hole to conceal the flame and the light from that flame. We want to dig a hole that is as deep as is tall our stove. So we're going to use a jet boil. That jet boil completely assembled is about a foot or so. We're going to dig into the earth down a whole foot to conceal the entire stove. We also want to dig a hole that is a little bit larger in diameter compared to that jet boil so we can actually light it with ease. But that hole is also going to help conceal the lighter that we're going to use to ignite the stove. Once we light that stove and it's cooking, we can fill the pot of the jet boil with liquid or food that we're going to warm up to get a hot drink or a hot meal, place it right on the stove and let it cook. Even though we're right next to the jet boil, the sound is somewhat dampened and the light is concealed. And the further away we get from that jet boil, the less we're going to be able to see that light, meaning the less anybody else is going to be able to see that light or hear that jet boil, so we can make a hot meal at nighttime and remain undetected. At nighttime, in the woods, especially with no weather, no wind, no rainfall or storm, sound is going to carry a lot further, especially in wintertime when all the leaves have fallen and the vegetation is dead, than it would if we had a wind or we had a storm or if it was summertime. So to avoid detection, to dampen the sound of our movement through the woods, walking over sticks, dead leaves, and grass, as well as to weather our tracks, meaning make them appear older than they actually are. A great technique for counter-tracking is to take out an extra pair of socks that we have in our rucksack and take those socks and place them over our boots. Those socks will help dampen the sound as we move through the woods, walking toe to heel very slowly, using evasion movement techniques, but it'll also help weather our tracks, making them appear older than they actually are so we can move at nighttime and potentially fool our pursuers. At nighttime, sometimes we're going to have to use a flashlight to see what we're doing, especially in the case of checking our map and compass to make sure that we're on track. We preferably want to use a red lens flashlight because that red light has a longer wavelength than white light, which means it's more prone to scattering as it encounters particles in the air at nighttime as compared to a white light, which will travel further. But we want to take every precaution necessary, especially in a non-permissive environment when we're doing a map check under light. So an old school, simple technique that we can use to turn on that beam and check our map is by using our poncho liner and our poncho to create just a simple, hasty hide that we can climb underneath with a buddy or two or three to check our map to make sure we're on the right track. What we do is lay down that poncho flat. What we do is lay down that poncho liner first, flat on the ground. Then get out our poncho, lay that flat directly over top of our poncho liner. We grab our map and compass, climb underneath the two blankets, and then we can turn on our red lens. You'll notice that the poncho liner and the poncho itself create a light barrier, dampening or scattering that red lens flashlight even more, keeping it contained underneath that Hasty hide so we can actually use our light, check our map and compass, and avoid detection. Simple. Here's a tip on a piece of kit that we should always carry with us, and that is just a mini Firefly or Phoenix strobe. This is a small strobe that fits directly on top of a 9-volt battery and emits an IR strobe signal that we can use to alert search and rescue aircraft that may be using night vision devices or infrared sensors to locate our beacon and pick us up for recovery. This small little Firefly fits right over top, and it blinks. We can't see it with the human eye, but we can see it under IR or infrared vision. One good tip about this is that we have this beacon in our pocket, very small, easy to carry, and we can carry a 9-volt battery as part of our kit, which is why we should also always carry a little bit of fine grade steel wool with our kit, because especially at nighttime, all we have to do is grab that 9-volt, a little bit of that steel wool, and we can touch the steel wool to the 9-volt terminals, ignite it, and it's a quick way to get an emergency fire lit very fast. Speaking of infrared beacon, we can also use another military-grade beacon or strobe as part of our distress kit for search and rescue signaling. This is the MS-2000. Light emitted from this beacon can be seen of upwards of 2 clicks away, or 2,000 meters. This beacon has an IR cover that we can put over the white light to emit an IR flash for search and rescue using NVGs to see. We can also remove that IR cover to emit a white light for permissive environments for ground search and rescue to see. But this also has another function or tip as part of the strobe. It has a directional setting. Extend the housing of the strobe itself. When we do this, we collapse the light inside the green housing of the strobe, releasing a blue filter or lens cover over top of the strobe light, casting a blue light in a certain direction. Instead of being omnidirectional, we can actually take this light and now make it directional. Search and rescue is most likely to come from. The more you know. Here's a fun trick to program in an azimuth or direction that we're going to travel at nighttime into our military lensatic compass without the aid of light and only using just simple math. Inside the compass face, as we look at it, we have the bezel ring that rotates clockwise and counterclockwise. Every click of that bezel ring is 3 degrees. Remember that. We also have an illuminated index bar as part of that rotating bezel ring on the compass face, and then the illuminated bar on the north-seeking arrow, as well as illuminated panels under the east and west indicators of our compass face. Using simple math, we can program in our azimuth without the aid of any light source. Here's how we do it. Say we want to travel 30 degrees on our bearing to our next land navigation point. We pull out our compass, and we're going to rotate the bezel ring 10 clicks. Remember, every click is 3 degrees. 30 divided by 3 is 10. Only we want to rotate that bezel ring counterclockwise, so the illuminated index bar that's rotating with our bezel ring is going to rotate counterclockwise 10 clicks. Once we go 10 clicks, all we have to do is hold the compass center mass and then rotate our bodies until the index bar on our bezel ring is lined up with the index bar on our north-seeking arrow, or needle in the doghouse, as we call it. And then the lead edge of our compass is now facing 30 degrees, and we start walking. If we want to do the opposite direction, 330 degrees, we're going to go 10 clicks, but this time clockwise. Once we get clockwise, we're going to rotate our bodies, holding the compass center mass until both illuminated bars are lined up with one another, needle in the doghouse, and now we're facing 330 degrees, following the lead edge of our compass, and we take off and we walk. And that's how we do it. Here's another great signal at nighttime that can be done with an IR chem light or just a normal chem light for both non-permissive and permissive environments. With either chem light, depending on the situation, we can make a simple signal that's called a buzzsaw. All we do is take out that chem light. We can preload it with any type of cordage, like 550 cord, using about 2 or 3 feet of length, and then wrapping that cordage around the chem light. When we need this emergency distress signal, we simply take it out, undo the cordage, crack the chem light. Grabbing the end of our cordage, we begin spinning that chem light in a circle. It creates what's called a chem light buzzsaw. This buzzsaw signal can be used in any direction to alert search and rescue, or as a means of direct fire control measures, or as a point of entrance or exit to bring soldiers in or send soldiers out. It can be used as a location marker, and we can also use it overhead, spinning it to alert search and rescue aircraft to our position to get rescued or resupply or medevac. It's a great signal to know. Here's a military survival tip on how to write down or take down notes at nighttime without the aid of any light source. It's a very simple trick, and all we're going to use is just a piece of illumination paper as well as a piece of acetate paper, 100-mile-an-hour tape, and then a map marker. What we're going to do is take that illumination paper, we're going to put it over top of any surface that we want. It could be over top of the back of our map, our Ranger handbook. From here, we're going to take a piece of acetate paper, sticky side down, and put it right over top of that illumination paper. If we try to write on illumination paper with any type of permanent marker, it's going to stay there. But if we use acetate, we can actually erase whatever we write and reuse what I call a recon pad anytime we want. Once we have that acetate down and it's stuck in place, we can use 100-mile-an-hour tape to tape around the edges, making it a waterproof writing surface. Before going to the field, we can take out our headlamp, scan it all over that illumination paper to excite the illuminated portions of the paper, making it brighter. And then once we go into the field, we can simply take out that recon pad with the illumination tape, acetate over top, waterproofed, use a map marker to write down our notes, draw a simple sketch with permanent marker, put it back inside our coat or inside our rucksack or our flick, and then we can move back to our ORP, pull it back out, and share our notes with the entire patrol. A very simple technique that gives us a waterproof, permanent writing surface that we can actually erase from and reuse at nighttime without any light source. Here's another simple trick when conducting any sort of movement at nighttime to avoid detection and get close to the objective, or conduct evasion movement to get away from any pursuers without giving away your location. And that is by simply using something called the military crest. As we look at a hill, we can see the hill top. What we want to avoid is silhouetting ourselves against the light in the background behind that hill. So we avoid traveling over top of the hill. Instead, we go on the side of the hill or around the hill, staying below the crest of that hill, thus staying out of that light, and avoiding silhouetting ourselves against that backlight, giving our position away, and drawing attention to ourselves or becoming detected by any pursuers. Always stay below the military crest. Alright guys, that does it for this video. 10 military survival skills, tips, tricks, and hacks at nighttime when the sun goes down and the world turns green. Very down and dirty video today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did like this video, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, leave me a comment in the comment section. I always appreciate your feedback. I want to thank you guys for everything you do for me, for this channel, for your likes, your views, your subscriptions, your comments, your feedback, and your shares. And I'll be back with another video as soon as I can, guys. Thanks.